So here is our question for you today. How do you propose to heal from your past trauma when you can't let go of the memories and you can't let go of the feeling or the emotions? So it is a two-pronged process that we need you to adhere to. The first is to separate yourself from the experience, and that comes with time and detachment. And what we mean there is when you speak about the experience or experiences, you will notice that at times you will become incredibly animated or energized by your storytelling. And this means that you are, to a certain extent, reliving that moment, meaning that the fear vibration that was within your body at the time of the event is being relived. And that is not a good or delightful thing to go through, because it pulls you back into that energy field of the event at that time, keeping you trapped in your trauma. So as you begin to work with a trained therapist or life coach who specializes specifically in trauma therapy, you will be taught techniques on how to replace the narrative that you share with one that is more detached. And this matters. If you think about a hard drive where a memory is stored in a particular location, and every time you go to that spot, it is relived. Well, we need you to replace the energetic imprint, override it in essence with something that is positive. And you can do this with those types of techniques that are expressed as EMDR, brain spotting, and those type of brain reprogramming techniques. There are many more that are in the hopper right now, so to designate specific ones would be silly, because within the next 10 years you will have hundreds and hundreds of them to choose from. But the method is consistent. Tune into that really terrifying experience. Have a happy space of sorts to go to, and to continue to toggle back and forth between those two in a particular manner as your eye movement or the pulsars in your hand or some other technique is implemented that utilizes a toggling between the left side and the right side of the brain. It's simple, and yet it's not. And you all are only at the cusp of what is possible. But the second, and this is the more important piece that we wish to speak on today, and that we can help to guide you through, is how to let go of the anger and the hatred and the frustration and all those negative emotions that you feel that are associated with that memory. So there are many people who will tell you, advise you, guide you on how to get through this process that they oftentimes call forgiveness. And we prefer a different term, which is acceptance. Acceptance of what you went through. To deny or to wish something else had happened is not helpful at this point. But acceptance where you no longer resist the fact that it happened, and more importantly, the aftermath of what it caused you to experience and continue to experience. And that is where we wish to come in today, to replace forgiveness with acceptance. And acceptance can include forgiveness for self, meaning that in your acceptance process, you forgive yourself for being at the wrong place, at the wrong time, for allowing the wrong people into the wrong aspects of your life. Does that make sense? So wherever you feel that you are culpable for what happened, that is a place where we will go in and touch on the forgiveness. But overall, we just wish for you to go to and achieve a state of acceptance, because when you no longer resist that which you don't want, but embrace it, you will allow the inner demons that continue to bite you to be sent away. And that is what we are here to teach you today, to resist no more. So let us begin this process. You're beginning to understand how your trauma truly did impact you, and that it lives within you, physically, emotionally, psychologically, spiritually, and other ways that tend to come up that haven't even been defined yet. And we want you just to acknowledge this is where you are today. You are in a space of really acknowledging that these past traumas have a longer lasting impact. And we want to embrace that knowledge. To deny it, to try to ignore it, to pretend that it doesn't matter, or to take the advice of others where they say, just move on when it's so difficult, well, that means that that trauma is still hidden or stored within you at a cellular level. Again, think about that hard drive example that we gave. We need to release the trauma that you hold within your body in order to allow it to just be. So when you look at a photo of somebody else, any photo, it doesn't trigger you because there's nothing attached to that image. And that is our desire today, to get you to a space where the image of what happened to you no longer traumatizes you. So if you share the story of what happened to you, how does that make you feel? Does it make you feel seen and heard when people tell you, oh, good Lord, just get over that already? Or does that make you feel marginalized and minimized, right? It doesn't honor what you have gone through, nor does it acknowledge the after effect. So we would encourage you, if possible, not to talk to people who are unsupportive about these events, because it brings about a need within you to be validated and heard. And these people cannot and will not ever do it because their inner psyche is so damaged and traumatized that they too have had to simply pretend that these things don't matter, that you just move on. And acknowledge that this is fact. Acknowledge that these people cannot support you and that that is okay. Do not be angry that they cannot meet you where you're at, and do not belittle them. It's pointless because they cannot hear what they cannot hear. So find individuals who understand your journey in the most general sense, and those who most importantly can validate how it does affect you. But choose not to get stuck there. If you get stuck in the space of continually recycling the story without acceptance, then yes, you will continue to tune into that vibration of electricity as if you were reliving it every time you share. So we wish for you to today just acknowledge, okay, this thing happened, it impacted me, it impacted my life, and I don't know what to do with it. But today and tomorrow and the next day, I will just sit with this and observe. First, observe how it has impacted my life. And so right now, I'm just going to sit and start with that event in the most general form. And if it is too much, do not go there, because there's no point in tuning into an experience which completely overwhelms you. Then you need to work with your trained trauma therapist to get you to that point where you can tune into it as they safely guide you through this process. So again, tune into that experience that traumatized you and just observe it. Don't crawl into it. Pretend that you are observing yourself outside of yourself as if you were looking into a fishbowl. What would you notice? Not so much about the event, but about you. Would you notice how helpless you are? Would you notice how scared you are? Would you notice how angry you are? What would you notice in that moment about yourself and your inability in that moment to protect yourself and keep you safe? What do you feel for yourself? Do you feel like you let yourself down? Do you feel like you didn't fight enough? Do you feel like you made some mistakes beforehand? Where do you hold yourself responsible? Well, if today we tell you that somebody outside of you designed that event, not that you deserved it, because you never did deserve it, but if somebody outside of you just allowed the sequence of events to play out that way, meaning that you have no responsibility or culpability in it. It just simply was meant to happen in some way or form, or just simply happened, and that there is no blame or judgment to be assigned to you. How would you feel? How would you view that experience differently? So again, now, just look at yourself in that fishbowl and observe yourself with compassion. Things sometimes just happen, and there appears to be no reasonable explanation. It just is. So when you look at that piece, knowing that you are not to blame, and that others may have made choices, but that you were not at the wrong place at the wrong time. You were just at that place at that time. And that event occurred. How does that help you to move into a space of acceptance? Resistance does nothing other than bring about a point of retribution within yourself, where you feel like you could have or should have done it differently. And that does nothing to support your healing. You simply need to accept that is what happened, and you must now find your way forward to heal and to live again. So when you love yourself enough every day by repeating this process of saying, it is not my fault. I did the best that I could at each point along the way, and this is merely how it played out. Whether it be a car accident, the loss of a loved one, some kind of a natural destruction, somebody harming you, life just unfolding in a way that is not as you desired. There's so many areas where this can come into play. We want you to know that you are exactly where you are meant to be right now, and that you are safe, and that you are protected, and that you are cared for. And if you can tune into that peace of really knowing and trusting that you are safe, then you no longer carry that vibration of the fear that was stored within your body at that moment in time. It is natural, and it is a protective mechanism designed to protect you from a similar experience. But it also can help you to go to an overprotective response, whereby you limit the expression of your life going forward. So today, just find that one moment where you feel like you made a mistake, or you didn't take action as you could have, or just whatever it is within you that holds you culpable, and let that piece of it go, knowing that you did all that you could with what was available. Hug yourself. Really hug yourself. Put your arms around yourself and squeeze. And if you're capable, do the self-havening, which is where you just tenderly caress your arms, or your face, or your legs, or your belly, or your scalp, anywhere, similar to what a mama does when she naturally soothes her child who is distressed. Offer yourself that visceral response that your skin has when somebody is stroking it back and forth. It is calming to your central nervous system, and it is also calming to your psyche. It feels good. So find that moment today where you can let go of your own burden of responsibility for what happened, and forgive yourself, and move into a space of acceptance that somehow the universe allowed this to happen, because that is how life works. It is unplanned in certain ways. It is unscripted in certain ways. And this is just how it chose to play out. And it is not because you did anything wrong, or you were being punished, or you are responsible. It is just the consequence of the universe being an ever-evolving space for you all to experience life. And today, for the first time, remind yourself that you are a cosmic being who came here to experience life in a physical body, and what seems to make sense out in the universe doesn't necessarily make sense in the human body. And you have been taught so much by others to blame yourself and humanity for where it finds itself. But sometimes it's just an outplay of an action that was taken 1 or 2 or 300 years ago, where it does not in any way tie to you. What if you drank from water that had toxic chemicals in it from something that happened a long time ago, and those chemicals, those toxins, harmed your body? Well, you could question, why did I drink it? Why did this happen? But it's because somebody many, many, many years ago put something into place that ultimately would harm you. And that individual did not do it with the forethought of harming you, because if you're honest, look around you, many people act without any forethought, and therefore lots of things are just the natural consequences and outgrowth of prior actions. And you just happen to have been at that place at that time because you chose to be there, but not because you wanted to be harmed. It was just the sequencing of life. We're doing our best here to remove the blame and the shame from the choices that you make, and instead allowing you to shift into an acceptance of where your life finds itself right now. And when and if your psyche is able to embrace the bigger, more cosmic belief system that you are in control of how your life plays out, at that time only, when and if you are ready to embrace that belief system, can you take on more responsibility for the choices that you consciously make. Otherwise, you are being held responsible for something that you just don't understand, and it is unfair and unjust to burden any single soul with such a responsibility that was not within their understanding yet. We want you to know how amazing you are. We want you to know how loved you are. And we want you to know how protected you are, even when it doesn't feel like it. If you can go into that space of acceptance, every time something scary happens, just accepting, okay, this is where I find myself today, and not judging it and not blaming it, but just being present, that will help you in that moment from incorporating the belief system that is attached to the trauma. Only the event itself, if that makes sense. It is oftentimes your belief system or your fears or your other experiences that come in and magnetize the trauma that much greater. But if you can just be in that moment and allow only that experience to come in, then it will just be that moment and not all of the other prior moments that have traumatized you at other times. It is a process to work through this, and you can and you will get there if you set the intention that you desire to heal. And then you just come into a space of acceptance and forgiveness for self, and the rest of it will unfold in due time. Please do not force forgiveness for somebody else. It is not a conscious decision that you make. It is a visceral response that your psyche moves into when all of the underlying traumatic experiences have been cleared out. It is within your cells that this trauma must be healed, not within your mind construct. And it is not as easy as many others lead you to believe it to be. It is a journey and a process, and each of you is uniquely designed to heal in a unique and particular way. And if this resonates with you, then this is the path for you. And if it doesn't, that tells you the vibration of what we offer. The Hopi Collective is not the means and the measure for you to heal, and continue looking for something else that resonates with you, because we believe in you so much. Find that which feels like home to you and continue to go there. And so it is. Namaste.